Hello and welcome to the Justin Hamilton podcast. On today's episode, Will Anderson returns for 8 a.m. catch up. It was a good opportunity to discuss a few things with Will that have been going on in my life and his life. And as you would expect from one of our podcasts, loads of tangents that will take you into places that even we didn't expect. So that is coming up. Good to have Will back on the pod, and hopefully we'll be get back into a bit of a rhythm like we were at the start of the year, and you'll be seeing more of him. So I'm looking forward to that. Just before we launch into it, over at Substack, I've been writing my memoir. It's called One Foot in the Spotlight, and I am chronicling my career. I'm up to chapter 10, and I've just written about the first ever headline spot that the comedy duo I was in, the Bunta Boys, performed. And this is back in a time in 1994 where we didn't know how things worked and we didn't know what the rules were. And back then at Joker's at Bolt's Cafe, it was a regular audience. And so when after 10 weeks of performing and doing a new 7 to 10 minutes every week, we were given the opportunity to headline, and most people would have just taken their best bits from all of their spots and turned it into a headline spot. And we panicked and thought, well, we better come up with something interesting. And I think we did. I think it was a pretty audacious first ever headline spot. But, we kind of treated it more like we were on the big gig or we're on the late show or something like that. We essentially created an Adelaide fringe show that we did as a one-off. So it includes influences like the Jim Rose Circus, the obscure adverts that some of you might never have heard of, but some of you would definitely be old enough to remember. It has marauding clowns. It has fire breathing. It's an action-packed chapter. So you can find that over at my Substack along with the regular blog that used to be on my website, Dispatches from the Fury Road, short stories, the beautiful tales for the disenchanted, and a whole lot of other stuff as well. So if you would like to go and check that out, head over to Substack, type in Justin Hamilton Comedian, and I will pop up, and I think you'll find it entertaining. All right. I will pop by at the end of this podcast to tell you what you can look forward to on Thursday. It might be a review about a little film called The Odyssey, but anyway, I'll swing by at the end and catch up with you. But for now, let's bring in Will Anderson. I got some exciting news on Friday.
What?
My rent's going up again.
Oh,
It's great. It is,
oh, we really need another pandemic. I want to be the first to say it.
Yeah.
Rent freezes
Yeah.
and getting to stay at home all the time,
Yeah.
getting to catch up on our reading and watching stuff. No one else was working either, so it felt okay if you weren't working.
It was a
Bring
happy
back the
time.
pandemic.
Yep.
I'm going down the coast and I'm going to start biting dead birds on the beach and see what happens.
Just random ones. Pick that one up. Have a little nibble. Pick that one up. I
What's that guy doing? Just wants to stay home for a while.
Yeah, I admire the commitment to the cause as a vegetarian as well.
I wasn't going to eat them. I was just going to bite them.
Just bite
Just
them.
enough to be infected, but
Yeah.
not enough to not swallowing. I'll
Yeah.
spit.
Yeah.
Spit, not swallow.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
ethically, it's always one of those things, isn't it? Where you get into the ethics of like when vegetarianism or whatever. Part of
Yeah.
it is that you don't. I mean, I don't think I would crave or enjoy the taste of animal anymore. But let's just take this to you're on the TV show Survivor,
Mm.
or maybe you're in an actual survival circumstance
Oh,
whereby,
yeah.
yeah, are you going with killing an animal to eat, knowing then that like what it died of, or would you eat or are you going to if Meat is the only thing that you can eat. This is the scenario. There's not enough vegetable matter for you to be able to survive in this scenario. You need to get protein from meat. Are you going to eat meat that is already dead, or are you going to kill the meat? Because if you eat it that's already dead, there's a chance that it's died of like, yeah, it's been poisoned or it's had some disease or it's just gone off in the time. But ethically, you haven't killed that animal. That's my scenario. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I I can't even kill an animal that's in pain that needs it. So like when we were
Have
younger,
you
you
have you
find,
been called upon to do that? Like,
well, you know, like
are you getting
when,
a call from the local vet going, look, the Johnsons are coming in and I cannot do it with this puppy. It's adorable, but could you come in? You don't
could
know
you,
it.
yeah, I have no emotional connection to it. But when birds used to fall out of nests and they'd
Yes.
be, so I could never do it. I'd had my grandfather would just snap it and it would be gone. I remember a rat had gotten caught where the corrugated iron fences meet and had cut itself open, was in extreme pain and was dying. And I had the shovel and just couldn't do it. Got my grandfather again. Norm came in really handy for that stuff.
Yeah, but ironically, when your grandfather died, they made you do that, which I
Yes.
thought was completely unfair.
Well, weirdly, it was easier too. It was hard to snap him, but I got there. It took a few goes. But I just don't know if I could. I just don't know if I could actually kill an animal.
It is a tough thing to see, I will
Yes.
say. I mean, what a place for us to start our conversation. We haven't spoken for months on this podcast, and we've
Yep.
jumped right in the deep end of dead animals. But
Yep. That's what the
I,
audience wants.
okay, well, I'll give you a hypothetical scenario then.
Okay.
So Tamsin has said she's vegan, right?
Right.
And so she has said that if she ever gets attacked by a bear, so this is an actual conversation that we've had. If
Amazing.
we were in a scenario whereby she got attacked by a bear,
Yeah.
then then she would think that I should not kill the bear in order to defend her. So like if I had like say we're in I don't know, we're in some cabin somewhere,
Yeah.
there's like a gun that they've left in case of bears, and
Yeah.
I have the gun and I can kill the bear. She has said not to kill the bear. Thoughts?
Let her go.
Discuss. Yeah. What are your thoughts around that?
Uh, have you ever fired oh yeah, you fired a gun. I've seen you fire a gun.
Mm.
It'd be it's look, that's a tough choice. Like, can't you just shoot above its head and scare it?
Well, but then maybe it's more violent and tears her apart more viciously if I scare
Oh,
it.
yeah, that's a good point.
Like I've added
Um,
to it.
yeah,
Apparently, maybe it was only going to give her a cuddle, and now I've enraged it.
yeah, you've set it off. Wow, it's you know what I like? I like the idea of you having to explain it afterwards. No, 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 we made a deal.
Good.
Like I know
So
I had a
thank
gun.
you. I appreciate that you've gone to this because this is exactly my line of argument as well, which is that's fine. I get that in that moment, like you would like me to respect your wishes and
Yeah,
let the bear kill you. But
yeah.
how do you think I would explain that to your mother?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. The mum, like,
Yeah,
look what happened with Albo just saying he'd shag Kylie. Like, imagine
right.
trying to get this one over.
Oh, by the way, I listened to that podcast for my
Oh,
sins.
yes.
Um, and Elbow did not say that he wanted to. Have you heard it? Like, I'm no Elbow defender for a whole bunch of reasons, but in this particular instance,
It's because
I
you're a
am.
Hughesy fan. That's why.
That's right.
Gotta stick by your boy. You know,
Well,
Glasshouse mates.
once a week when we catch up to record our unofficial Glasshouse episode, as we have done every week since the show was cancelled
Yeah,
20 years ago or whatever.
yeah. He's still wearing weird hats.
He loses it every week. He comes
Yeah.
around to my house, whacks on a hat,
Yeah.
becomes a new character. I'm not liking this one at the moment that he's doing, Cold Sore Man, but
Oh, Jesus Christ. Infected cold sore, man. Far out. Like, I've never been angrier about HD quality.
I mean, this is coming from a man who's not on social media, but I would take a day or two off posting. But
Mate,
that's just me. Different
yeah.
strategies. That's okay. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the elbow thing, this is the biggest storm in a teacup I have ever seen in my entire life
Right.
because he gets asked on that podcast, where Nikki, the comedian Nikki Osborne,
Osborne.
is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know Nikki, so no, this was my first encounter with Nikki Osborne's work, so I don't know if this is indicative of the work that she's doing in general or because it's a character, this
Mm.
person on the podcast. So her other stuff, I think I've seen some of her writing like in the newspaper and stuff, but I just, for whatever reason, the whole Nikki Osborne thing has happened without it kind of, nudging into my world, I guess is the
Mm.
best way to put it. And so no preconceived notions going into it. Didn't even know that I was about to watch something that was a character. To be honest, I just thought he was on Nicky Osborne's podcast. I didn't realize he was on like this character Bushy or whatever the character. And the whole characters thing is that they are very broad and provocative
Mm.
and whatever. So the biggest mistake of all in this is Albo went on this podcast.
Yeah,
Like
well,
Albo got
that's
such bad advice.
that right from the get-go. Why are you doing it, mate? Like,
There's
why?
no upside and only downside going
Yeah.
on something like that. Like it's for that podcast to do what that podcast does, it always wanted a moment like this.
Mm.
There's no universe in which the Prime Minister goes on a broad comedic character who is provocative and sexual and all these sort of things on a podcast like that where someone says whatever they want to say and then doesn't get dragged down into that. He just does not have the skill or dexterity. And he's proven this. He proves it in this interview. This is part of the problem is that he actually does. So shag, marry, date is the concept. Mate, if you're going to do it, do fuck, marry, kill. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Like it's why do a watered down version?
right?
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, let's make him kill somebody. I
Yes.
mean, in the job as prime minister, he has to make decisions every single day that decide whether people live or die. So you know what? He should be able to actually do it on a podcast, I would have thought.
Yes. Yes. Hello, Israel.
So secondly, uh, shag, marry, date. He gets Kevin Rudd style. He does not understand. Like, remember when Kevin Rudd went on Rove and it was like, who will you turn gay for? And Kevin Rudd said, my wife. And everybody mocked him and went, you
You
can't play
know.
the game. And yet, in a way, I would argue a good, safe political answer in that situation. Because as Prime Minister of the country, you don't need to be cool. In fact, you being a bit dorky and not taking part in these sort of things, or taking part but kind of getting it slightly wrong, I actually
Mm.
think that's okay,
Mm.
right? And so there's a part of this, again, that I find quite adorable, which is that Albo does not seem to understand what shag, marry, date, or fuck, marry, kill, or whatever you want to call it is. Because he thinks you just have to nominate one person. Because the
For all
question is,
three.
yeah, so the question is posed shag, marry, date, right? And Rhonda Birchmore, Kylie Minogue, Nicole Kidman, I believe, were the options that were offered. And then Elbow it basically just says, like, I've just got married. I'm not answering a question. Like, this is, he does the first one, like, he's a classic opening batsman on a tough pitch. Goes out, sees the first one, leaves it. It does a bit. He goes, that's good. Left it. Didn't play at that one. Shouldn't play at it. Straight bat. Everything's fine. He gets one pushback in this interview, Justin. One like, oh, come on. And he's like, all right, here we go. Like, nah, just stick with your original. Your
Right.
original plan was the right plan. But then he only nominates one person. Like
Classic
he does,
Labour.
then he doesn't even play the game. Like he doesn't say, I would date Rhonda Birchmore, I would shag Kylie Minogue, and I would marry Nicole Kidman. No, he just goes, oh, well, if I have to pick one, Kylie, everybody loves Kylie. Like,
Right.
that's kind of, what it is, right? He never says, I would like to shag Kylie. It's not like Elbow gets on the podcast and just says, oh, it's good to be here. I've been spinning around. Speaking of spinning around, I'd like to fuck Kylie Minogue. Like, The budget is in excess. You know who dated someone from in excess? Kylie Minogue, and I'd like to shag her. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you got a sister? You know who had a sister? Danny Minogue. It was Kylie Minogue. Jeez, I'd like to shag her.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that wasn't anything what it was. He went on a thing, he answered like a dumb question. The whole problem was that he went on the thing and answered the dumb question. Like he shouldn't have done that. That was
No.
bad advice. Whoever told him to do that is giving the Prime Minister bad advice and he should stop taking advice from them.
It,
But the actual what he did on the podcast was so blown out of proportion, and people like me included, having only read the reaction to it for the first 2 or 3 days that I was reading reaction, and it kept the only reason I even went and looked at the podcast honestly was I kept hearing in the reaction no one ever kind of was like, well, what was the rest? I've got to be honest with you. I wanted to know who he'd assigned the other two in
well,
the
yeah.
Shag Marry Day.
Yeah.
I didn't go in for particularly noble purposes. I'm the first to admit it, but I wanted to know. And then I listened to it and I was like, is this the thing that everybody's offended by? Like,
Yeah. But it's also uh it's disrespectful for the prime minister to say that you hold this position of power and you're meant to be a leader, etc. I don't know. It was about 5 days ago that One Nation were banging on about how everyone's woke and everyone's a fucking loser, and can't we get back to the larrikin ways of the
yeah.
monoculture, etc. And it's like, well, he did.
Mm. I mean, the problem is he didn't do it, but with any charm. Like he could
Yes.
have just done that thing of going, well, I'm not going to answer this, but I think every Australian would think of Kylie Minogue and say I should be so lucky or whatever. Like do
Right.
something like fun and funny and that's clearly a joke.
Yes.
What he got trapped in was that in between
Yes.
where he answered to try to be a good sport, but didn't answer in a way that like indicated that he was being a good sport.
Well, he's a planner, isn't he? So
Yeah.
that's where he excels, in planning ahead and thinking on his feet. Not for him.
No. And yeah, but you absolutely are right. Like the difference between him barely answering a question that is set up to fail in this lighthearted situation is covered in this like absolute disproportionate degree. And at the same time, yes, One Nation who have been backed by a billionaire who
Mm.
is using them for her own purposes and antithetical to every single thing that they say. They actually often believe the opposite or lobby for the opposite. They pretend they're on the side of the little person and are absolutely on side of the big person, at the expense of the little person. And yet, yes, I mean, the discrepancy is outrageous.
Would have been great if Albo said, look, I don't really want to play this game, but I'd much rather spend time with Kylie Minogue than Holly Valance. Get
Right?
just a little boom, move on kind of thing.
Yes. Right? Like I don't think this is a good question for the Prime Minister to be answering, but like I'll go to Kylie Minogue on matters of Australian music, which I think is really important at the moment, and it's struggling, blah blah blah. Like the Australian film industry is something I'm really proud of, and punches above its weight internationally. So you can't go past like Nicole Kidman. And speaking of like sensational redhead entertainers, every Australian has grown up with Rhonda Birchmore in their lounge rooms. I just don't think you can split those three. It's a three-way tie, and everyone would be like, "Oh well, he didn't answer the question." Great, okay,
Fine,
good, yeah.
fine.
Like
But
you
he,
did. You just
yes,
didn't, yeah. Like answer it. Like it was the fact that he just said to Kylie and then just kind of let it go and let everybody else fill in all the gaps. That
that's
was
a
the
hard thing.
mistake. Yeah.
I was up in Cairns recently, and I was my flight had been delayed, and when you kind of can't commit to anything because you might start boarding. So I was just flicking through my phone, reading articles, and I read an article about Kylie Minogue, how she back in 2002 filmed an agent provocateur advert
Yeah.
that with Vivienne Westwood that was considered so hot that they had to pull it out of UK cinemas because it was too sexy. And I was like, that sounds pretty funny. And then I checked it out, and it might have been the hottest thing I've ever seen. And I had
Mate,
to I suddenly felt really awkward being out in the open at an airport. I went, Jesus, that is too hot.
Mate, there's a 3 episode documentary about Kylie's life that has recently been on Netflix,
Yeah.
where the gold pants that she wears in that film clip get as much airtime as Jason Donovan. Like,
They do too.
like, I mean, I
Well, they
love
both
Kylie.
clinged.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right. She can't get let go of either of them. But I I think that Kylie is super sexy, and I don't think it's misogynist to point out that somebody who has put themselves out there as being a sexy person and in a sexy way is sexy.
Sexy. Yeah.
Like, you are not sexualizing somebody who isn't being sexualized. You are just saying that, like, when that
Yeah.
person was being sexy, they look sexy, which is what
Yeah.
they were going for.
It worked.
Again, I don't think the Prime Minister should be answering questions about who's sexy. But then again, we have the leader of the free world who's talking about grabbing women on the pussy.
Well,
And,
that's the other thing, isn't it?
so,
So,
like,
like our prime minister
yeah,
goes, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
Kylie's hot," and
yeah.
we all are up in
A
arms,
month, a month
and
of us debating whether this is something we should be talking about.
yeah. Meanwhile, release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Like let everyone relax. Just commit. That's the problem. If you're going to do it, just commit to your answer and don't be wishy washy.
Also, let's just say the unspoken thing that has not been said in this conversation. This might be the first thing that Albo said that I agree with. Like, our Kylie Minogue is hot.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's absolutely no doubt like, in my fantasy, like, in that world where you're like, oh yeah, which celebrity, like, could you actually imagine that you might date? There was a period of time when I was living in LA where Kylie Minogue used to go to the same, because the Australians all find the good coffee shops, and there was only about 3 in all of LA. So if you ended up going to one of those 3 good coffee shops, you'd more often than not run into some Australians there. And there was one in particular that Kylie Minogue, for a period of time, was going to. And, she's like a few years older than me, but not like so much older than me that there was just a part of me, and she's from Melbourne and still, still like lives again in Melbourne, I believe. I think she's back in this part of the world. And so it's not outside the realms of possibility that Kylie Minogue knows who I am, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's definitely the case, but it's not impossible to believe that somebody who's had at least that connection with Australia, like, I mean, a lot of it, she's been international and overseas and like in a world that is not my world. So I don't expect that but I once went on a date with Nicole Kidman. I think that, like, like, Kylie Minogue might,
Yeah, yeah. There's a possibility
yeah,
through TV. Like
yeah,
there's got to have been an opportunity where she's seen Gruen,
yeah.
whether
I'm
it's
not,
on
yeah,
a plane,
that's
on
right.
the
Even if it's
ABC.
like, what's this, to turn it off?
Yes. Or, you've said things and, ended up on the front page of
Yes.
newspapers.
Surely at some point, something, right?
She's seen your classic work about, what was it, the politician being a pig rooter?
Richard Olsen.
Richard Alston.
She's like, I also thought Richard Olsen was all right with Big Ridder. You are correct. Uh,
Yeah, there's a possibility that she would be across you.
so then I decided that I wouldn't approach Kylie Minogue because you don't want to, like, annoy her. She's just trying to live her life, and particularly I think in LA, she's probably trying to live, an anonymous life. That's why Kylie
Mm.
Minogue would be in a place like that. And so I don't want to be the person who's going up to her and bothering her in this circumstance. But there was like a few weeks in a row where she happened to be there. And it was a few weeks in a row where I was like, you know what? Instead of getting my coffee takeaway today, I'm just going to get it here and I'll just read my book and I have my coffee. And you know what? If Kylie Minogue notice it, like, I mean, if we just, oh my God, like, we're
Mm.
both Australians, like, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. We can, like,
Did your
like,
accent get broader when you were getting the
oh
coffee?
man, that's a good
G'day.
point. G'day,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
I'll have a flat white, thank you. Cobber, Coco, crikey, it's hot.
She turns around, you've got a hat with corks
Corks.
hanging from it. Just kind of appeared as soon as the accent kicked in.
I said, that's not a knife.
All the classics. I love
So
it.
I did that, I reckon, on 3 or 4 separate occasions where I stuck around in the hope that maybe Kylie Minogue would be like, oh my God, we're both from Australia, hey. But it never happened.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Do you think
I
maybe
do.
she
I
saw
do.
Gruen after that? And then,
Yeah.
oh, it's that guy that was in the coffee shop with the
Yeah.
broad Australian accent.
Yeah. Oh, is that guy who always described his coffee as dry as a dead dingo's donga?
Yeah. Wow. Hey, screw it. All right. That's interesting.
Yeah, I do think that it would be a great scenario to find out one day that, yeah, Kylie was like, oh yeah, I was waiting. I just was like, I didn't want to bother you. You're probably in LA to, and I,
I love that as an approach. Yeah, it's been yeah, all this stuff with it's just boring as well, and it feels I didn't engage with it because it felt manufactured.
the elbow stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, I think. Like, I mean, even the way that it was dropped, I was listening to,
Uh, uh, Jan
I think it
Fran.
was, yeah, I think it was We Used to Be Journos,
Yeah.
and great podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, podcast shout outs to We Used to Be Journos and also Lamestream, who I think are both doing some excellent work in the independent news and media space. But yeah,
Yeah.
our mate Jan Fran has a podcast, and they did like a bit of a dive into when the episode had been released and when the story hit the papers and how all that might have come together, which I think is really worth going and having a listen
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. It does seem very instantaneous, doesn't it?
Hmm. Yeah.
But you can imagine, like we know how commercial radio works. Those producers would have been on the phones immediately, setting all of that up.
Well, and the other thing is that that's their job.
Yes. Yeah.
That's literally what their job is. It's something that we, when at Everyone Relax, the Charlie Clausen and I have a podcast network called Everyone Relax, and we have a bunch of different shows there. And occasionally, particularly so when it's Charlie and I and our like podcast, if they're cutting a clip for social, it kind of is in universe. And so whatever it is about, no one's really reacting to it. But if we have a guest on who already has like people who react to them in a certain way, if you cut a clip that, like for a podcast producer, there's been a couple of times where we've had to get a clip taken down because it's a clip that our producer chose, which nothing wrong with what they were doing. They were
Mm,
doing absolutely doing their job. They were like, "Oh, this is a great grab about this
mm,
person." And then, but if they put that up out of context and it's not Charlie and I, it's me talking to this person who has this audience who react to them in this certain way, and then you've just got this one bit out of context, and they won't, because this is the world that we live in now, where people are only reacting to the clip.
mm.
And they just say, I mean, I had one recently, and I don't think this is going out of school too much so M. Rusciano was on the podcast, and M's just one of those people that I love and I really respond to, but I respond to because I think M's bold and provocative. And for the same reasons that I like M, there are a whole bunch of people who don't react to M in the same way. And there was just some little clip about why men don't like her, which it was part of a broad conversation. And she wasn't anti-men in any of this sort of thing. It was it was great. It was just a really good chat. She always brings her A game to the podcast. Like really genuinely one of my favorite guests like that I have on. And this clip wasn't it wasn't clipped to be provocative or anything like that. It wasn't clipped to go, hey, we're going to get Em in trouble or whatever. It was just the thing that the commercial radio producer would go, oh, well, this is the juicy clip. This is the one that'll get the most interaction. And we've created an infrastructure now where there's a reward system in place for people to react badly to things
Yeah.
and it be as rewarding as people react well to things. It's not the fault of the person whose job it is to interact with that system, but it is the fault of the rest of us for allowing that to be the system.
Mm.
Like the fact that we've allowed the system that we operate in and are expected to operate in to be one that where negative engagement is measured with the same value as positive engagement. What happened? What
Yeah.
happened? What
Yeah.
happened where we
That's
decided the parameters for something being like effective or good is that if it has as much negative engagement as it has positive engagement, that feels to me like we've got the whole scoring system of how things should be operating completely out the window.
essentially it feels like the worst of the nerds got in charge. And there's the nerd culture where it is into things and being a fan of something and loving things, and then there's that subsection which is snarky and thinks everything is shit, and they're the people that ended up creating all the systems that we now all engage with.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. People who had to reframe all engagement as being good are
Mm.
now in charge of how we view the rest of the world. Yeah. It is the ultimate revenge of the nerds. Like Charlie and I have talked about this as well, a bit like more comedically, but it is true that like this is the fault of people who bullied these people when they
Yeah,
were young.
yeah, yeah. They all became billionaires, took over the tech industry, and we're fucked.
There's that character on The Simpsons, like I can't remember what his name is, but he's like basically Marge's ex, and
Oh,
and he's a billionaire, and like he's always trying to steal Marge from Homer and whatever, and he really is every single tech billionaire
yeah,
like rolled into one, which is just this idea of like I was an absolute nerd, but now I'm top of the world and you can't stop me. I'm cool now and I'm in charge of everything. And I'm going to decide what's cool and what's art and what's music. But I don't know, we've talked about this a bit offline, which is I feel like I don't know. I feel like this idea that you can do anything is going to make it we're in a bad place with it at the moment. But I do feel like there's going to be a swing back the other way where people want real things
oh,
more and more and
yeah,
things with mistakes and
yes,
things with it's like we've been on this like race to like being able to do whatever you can do. And now that you can do whatever you can do, I don't think it's interesting to do whatever you can do anymore. It's much more interesting to just do something or something different or something original. Like I went and saw last night Claire Hooper's show that she did at the Comedy Festival this year, Fun
right.
Show Kiss Kiss. And it was, I mean, a couple of things I will tell you about it. Firstly, it is so hard for me to watch a show like that without thinking the whole industry's fucked because it was as good a comedy show as I have ever seen in my life. It shouldn't be playing a one-off repeat performance at Comedy Republic on a Saturday night. It should be playing the Comedy Theatre for 3 more weeks. It's that sort of
Right,
show. It's
right.
I've not. I mean, I thought Celia Pacquola's show was the best show I saw in the festival, but I didn't see Claire's show, and I think Claire's show is the equal of it at the very least. Very different performers, but if you're talking about it in terms of writing and what it's done and how it unfolded and density of jokes and nothing out of place and no bit of the show there that shouldn't be there and all kind of just constantly paying off in ways that you didn't expect and so subtle. But what she's managed to do is not only do like a personal show where it's a bunch of internet connected stories that all pay off with each other, but also explore the idea of what fun means. Like, we literally take that word fun and in every situation, the theme is being explored as well as all the stories connecting like they might in one of my shows or whatever. Literally in every one of those things, you can see that she's exploring the concept of fun and from her
Mm.
perspective and what it means and how it's defined and all these sort of things. It was honestly such a brilliantly put together show. And there was a part of me that was just like, well, if this isn't hasn't got a line down the street, that was my first reaction. I was like, oh, we're fucked.
Right.
If this is the
Yeah.
thing that like everyone's not talking about, why isn't this playing to thousands and thousands of people? Why isn't everybody going, you've got to go and fucking see Claire Hooper's show? It's amazing. So that worries me a little bit. But it also kind of inspired me because I was like, no, this is so much better than anything that you can see online. Like it was so much better.
Right.
And it was so much better than because I was talking to Tamsin afterwards. We were like, why is it that this show, because without wanting to directly, I've compared it to Celia's show because Celia's show was also the show that I would have told everybody was the best show that I've seen this year. So it's like an easy one to compare it to. We had more unfavorable comparisons on the like walk home to the train station for shows that we saw that were super popular that didn't like reach those levels at all. And it is a constant reminder of like how unfair this industry is. Like entertainment is like a completely unfair industry. Like you aren't rewarded in the way that you should be in that regard. But also, it did still make me think, okay, we've just we've just got to bridge the gap between it's so much it was so clear to me that a thing made by a human like that is still so much better than anything a computer or an AI could ever possibly imagine or do. And Claire's done it with, you know, $60 worth of props and a few photos and, you know,
Yeah,
like,
I
you
can
know,
imagine that.
you know,
Hoops. She's
yeah,
always been from the first time we met her. She was incredibly inventive. Remember
yeah.
her show about almost losing her voice
Yeah.
was pretty extraordinary. So she's it's not surprising to me to hear something like this.
No, it was more that thing of how do we like remind people or get people re-interested in the world again? Because even just, I mean, I know this is just what I'm like all the time, but even just walking to the gigs, like just seeing everyone on their phones, just everyone on their, no one's looking up. No one's
Yeah.
looking up from the phones. No one's engaging with the world. How do we remind people that not in a, I don't want to be like an old man yelling, because I'm not, but well, maybe I am a bit, but more, I'm just want to say, this is great. Look around. There's people here. There's like people making amazing things. Like even just being at Comedy Republic in that venue last night, you're like, look at this.
Hmm.
Like, you know, look at what Kyron and Alex and Reese and like the whole crew there, Gemma and everyone who's working there have done and built and made this amazing thing. They've got this cool bar. Everyone's going there to see comedy. They had like 6 shows on, like they started doing shows at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
Hmm.
yesterday and like ran shows all through the, like, I mean, it's fucking amazing. But only I think one or two of the 6 shows they had on were sold out, you know, of the day. Like people aren't going to see things. Like I even know this myself. I've got some shows coming up. I've got 2 weeks in Brisbane and a week in Canberra. And like, I mean, look, we put on extra capacity in both of those places to what we did last year because we sold out all the shows. But gee, that extra capacity, like we've sold what we sold last year, but the extra capacity has been hard for us to move. Like it's a tough time to
Hmm.
like be out there saying to people, you know, hey, could you please come out and see a comedy show? Because, like you said, like when you started this episode, people are going, my rent just went up. I
Yeah.
went to the I went to the supermarket and I bought like the minimum amount of groceries I could get, and it cost me $95.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know how people survive. I was talking to my sister about her son, who's like an apprentice, and he earns $600 a week, right? Being an apprentice. He lives at home. Of course, he fucking lives at home.
Of course.
Where else is he going to live?
Yeah.
In the van, in the parks that they look after while he's an apprentice. Apparently, it costs him $150 in like tolls and parking and travel a week. So that's 150 gone from his like
Yeah.
600 before
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. A quarter of it's gone. Just like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it is it's interesting because in many ways I feel pretty good physically and intellectually and emotionally. And even feeling good, I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? Like, because, I wrote to the real estate agent and I said, this is it. I've been
How
here
much
for,
more is it going up?
it's going up $35 a week. But it's
A
been going
week.
a week and it's been going up between 35 and 45 a week all the way through since COVID. Like I didn't get any rent relief at all during COVID. I still paid full for this place. But I've been here, as I said to the woman who emailed me, I said, hey, I've been here before you guys were the real estate agents. Like, to you, this is an asset. This has been my home for 9 years. So this is like I'll tell you, it's going up to 720 a week. When I moved in, it was 415. And so yesterday I went, looking around for rental places. It is grim. I was walking into places that they're dirty. There's cables. just hanging loosely. There's just kind of like concrete floors, and there's 650 a week. Or there was one down the road that was just one big room there, so you'd be cooking, sleeping, working, all in one space. That was 645 a week. Um, and so it is, I've got some decisions to make in the next couple of weeks because, live stand up doesn't pay. Live stand up pays worse than it did 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
sometimes I
Live
like,
live stand up hasn't doubled in its
no,
like payments in the last 8 years as your rent has basically done.
no, not at all, and and I say all
Justin,
of
what
this.
I'm hearing, it's almost as if there's like a rental housing crisis in Australia. If
Hmm,
only we could do something about it. I'm sure everybody would be behind that, right? If we
yeah,
tried to do something about
if
making it
only,
more affordable for people
no,
to get into the housing market.
if only there was a hero with a big cold sore ready to go who
It's
could take
willing.
them down. Old, old
Maybe that's what it is. It's
Captain
the bat
Herpes.
signal. The bat signal has appeared.
And it's a big herpes in the sky. Oh no.
The giant H.
By the way, I don't know. You're not online, so you probably wouldn't have seen this. He's turned up in a series of adverts for, I don't know, solar panels or something. I don't know. I couldn't
Uh-huh.
even. But it was just. It was like I'm getting all of his clips on Instagram, and now he's in a series of adverts. So it's good to. I was a bit worried that he'd take a stance and it would affect him financially, but things are going to be okay.
Uh, I think th I can't see work going away because the people that he's like I mean, I think if I'm going to give him, and I try to like give people because when you've known somebody for 30 years and
Yeah,
been
and I
friendly with
like him.
somebody for
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like
yeah,
same here. And we've never been best mates or anything, but we've always like gone on really well. We worked together
yeah.
for years on a
You,
thing that people remember very fondly. And so
yeah,
like our lives are, kind of linked together through that. We've been come through stand up very similarly. We shared a house together in Edinburgh in 1999.
yeah,
But we've definitely had our own very separate careers that have
yes,
like, not intersected a lot along the ways, but they have run parallel and we have always got on great. And I've always enjoyed talking to Husey and I think he's very funny. Like all these people who are like, he's never been funny or he's not a good
nah.
comedian or he's
He's
like lucky or he doesn't work
nah.
hard or all those things are, you're
You
allowed to have
cannot
your
like
opinions
it,
about all
but
the things that he's saying,
yeah,
but like he is uh, one of the hardest working, if I would argue maybe too hard working.
yeah. He's a
That's what
workaholic.
yes, that's right. Like
Yeah,
he has addictive qualities, and one of them he has channeled into work. And
mm,
I actually think he would maybe enjoy it even more if he had even a non-addictive relationship with his work. I don't think he
mm,
needs to have that addictive relationship with it. I feel like sometimes if you took a step back and thought about things and gave things a bit more time, we'd see even a richer version of it. But
mm.
who am I to tell him what to do? Because he has been one of the most successful Australian comedians of the last 3 decades.
Ever.
Every time I go and see his shows, they are very funny from start to finish, like packed full of jokes. Like, he's always working on new material. He works relentlessly. He's put his money aside. He didn't waste it. All those things are true, right? Like so. And I also have affection for him, and I don't want to live in a world where people are. I think it's actually this is the thing that I've been saying a lot is I'd love to see more of it in his comedy if that's what he believes, because I think it would be a richer Australian comedic palette. Like, if you've got Tom Ballard talking about politics from one perspective and you had David Hughes talking about politics from a different perspective, but they were both doing jokes and routines and
Hmm.
whatever it might be about exploring those ideas. To be honest, I'd be pretty happy to, watch both of those. And I'd probably agree with one a lot more than the other, but I'd still be pretty happy to watch both of them. And I do think that so if I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, like if I start with like he believes that he is like Robin Hood and he is speaking on behalf of the ordinary person who's going to listen, look out in this. which I do think that he at least in part believes,
Oh, I think he definitely
yeah,
believes it.
then I don't think he loses them, the people that he's sticking up for, but also he's really sticking up for big business and corporate interests and all these sort of things, right?
Yeah.
And they're the people who decide the ads and the corporate gigs and the access to the VIP rooms at the MCG and the world in which he lives his life. You know, his Carlton, Carlton fans, Carlton media fans, WhatsApp groups probably filled with more Liberal voters than Labor voters. When he's going to these corporate gigs and working for these big corporations, a lot of people in those rooms are more likely to be, from that other side of politics than from the left. That I don't think he will lose that sort of work at all.
No, 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 he'll be fine. Yeah, but it's he's been living in that compromised world of rubbing shoulders with those people for a long time. So that's when he doesn't understand when people are pushing back against him for speaking up for the common man. It's like, but Dave, like you know, the the whole Melbourne comedy scene of a particular age bracket, which is our age bracket, had a complete and utter failure of satire and comedy when all the Adam Good stuff went down because not one of them spoke up about it. I think you and I were the only two doing routines about it, but the others weren't, and that's because, well, Eddie gave me a lift one night, and oh yeah, well, I was backstage at this event with Sam Newman, and oh yeah, but I'm hanging out with Brian Taylor. He's a good guy,
It
and
makes it incredibly difficult to do. Like
yeah,
you become the company you keep.
yeah,
It's part of the reason that I've never, not the only reason, I'm going to be absolutely honest, because I can't think of anything worse that I would like to do with my time. But like, I don't go to openings of things.
yeah,
I don't go to like, award shows or events. And a big part of that has always been the idea of once you get to know Russell Crowe, it's very hard to make fun of Russell Crowe. Once you get to know,
exactly.
I mean, I've worked with Eddie Maguire, and I was lucky that going into that, had already had a long history of criticizing Eddie Maguire, that Eddie Maguire was um, familiar with and
Hmm.
understood that that's what I was going to bring into the show. But I would be absolutely lying to you if I said that since then, like I mean, I would hate if Eddie got into something like that again because I don't know how I would feel about being able to speak about it now that I know him and like know more about him and having like, so have some affection for him as well. I can see, all the good that is in him as much as that. Like, I mean, I've said this before about Eddie, but, Eddie is one of those people that, you know, there are some people in the world who would criticize somebody like an Eddie and rightly so in some cases, absolutely. Um, uh, but never acknowledge any of the good that he does, right? Like, he's one of those people that if you've got two buckets, like the one that's full of like shitty things that he shouldn't have done, that's about half full. And the one that's full of like good things that you've never heard about, there's about eight buckets, right? Like,
Right.
what I mean? Like it's but he gets confused, I think, in his head
Yeah.
that like because he's got eight buckets over here, why are people so mad about like look at all the good I do out. Whereas like often people are criticizing him who've never fucking filled quarter of a bucket of like good things, right? Like, but I only know that from knowing him as well, right? And is that my job? That's the
Right.
thing as a comedian, where you're like, maybe it's your job to keep as much of that distance and not know that. Because as soon as you know that, as soon as you have that complexity, it does often. I mean, here's a better example, probably. I recently had Charlie Pickering. In fact, it isn't out yet, but Charlie Pickering was booked, our friend Charlie Pickering, like someone we've known for a very long time again, who was in the media for some comments he made around Grace Tame and whether it was appropriate for her to have a podcast on the ABC. And um, we'd already had, because he has this new radio show, so we'd already had the podcast booked in. But the way that I record those philosophies, they're all in big bulk recordings. So I was stuck in such an awkward position with that interview where we kind of had to mention it
Mm.
because, but by the time we were speaking to it when it was like 3 or 4 weeks away from it having happened, and people were going to hear it 7 or 8 weeks away from it having happened, and you're just like
Yeah.
having such a weird displaced conversation where you can't really get into what it is that you would really like to ask or talk about, or that Charlie would be able to talk about with me and feel safe to talk about with me. But we now live in a world where somebody will take some part of that out and use it for their own purposes. That said, and this is, I mean, we're real deep in this rabbit hole, but this is where it gets so confusing, right? Because once you know these people, it's harder. When
Hmm.
I'm listening to Janfran and Antoinette talk about Charlie and his comments and
Hmm.
what they thought of them, or when I'm listening to Osmond and Scott talk about it on Lame Stream and what they think about Charlie, there is that part of me in my head going, no, that's Charlie wouldn't have meant it like that, or he would have like blah blah blah, or I know some other things that are going on in his world, so I have some extra compassion for like
Yeah.
the circumstances that might have led to that, or whatever it might be. So that's when it becomes difficult with the company you keep, right?
Right.
They're our examples. But if you're like a Husey or whoever who is constantly in the company of these people who are telling you these things or reinforcing this, he might argue the opposite of that, which is, well, you're not around these people, and these are people whose opinions are equally valid, and you should be listening to them as much as you're the one living in a bubble, not
Mm,
me. I'm
mm.
out there talking to everybody, and this is actually what I'm hearing out there, and people are angry and blah blah blah. I think it's a classic example of he's identified the problem, but what's the solution? Yeah, people are angry and housing is fucked, and this solution is going to hurt some people. But as Justin just said, his rent has nearly doubled in the last 8 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you go to look at other places, like for $800 a week, you should be living in a really nice apartment in a really nice part of a really
I,
nice city.
I
Like,
should have a backyard.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
somewhere to go and sit. It's yeah, there is something interesting at the moment. There's a lot of people on both sides of the divide complaining about things, but nobody's really offering alternatives or solutions. And it's I find it particularly frustrating with there's a lot of uh, you know middle-aged white men sliding into fascism talk as a broad subject, and then it's like, well, why don't you go looking for the people who aren't? Like,
Well, that's
they're
the
out there.
problem. Stop making it so lucrative.
Yeah.
All the reward systems, Carl Stefanovic comes on and it has a Curtis Stone on his podcast, and like 30,000 people watch it. And he has Pauline Hanson on and 30 million watch it. Like, I mean,
Mm.
that's not true, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's, he has Tommy Robinson on and he's arm in arm saying that he thinks he's a pretty good bloke. Like, that's, and it's rewarded. It's rewarded. I mean, people are like, oh, he lost his job. No, he wanted to lose his job. That's what he's been angling on since he started doing this podcast. Like,
Yes.
he's on Piers Morgan, like getting international, recognition as being some sort of free speech advocate. Like it's the most obvious right wing grift that there has ever been in the history of right wing grifts. Not since Russell Brand declared himself a Christian has it been so obvious. That's what he was doing with their media strategy. But there's such a big reward for it,
Yeah.
right? And there's no reward for the opposite.
None.
What's the reward for the opposite? You look at the world, the biggest shows in the biggest podcast in the world is Joe Rogan. The biggest comedian in the world is like Ricky Gervais, probably, right? Or Jimmy Carr. Like, people, Louis C.K. is back on Netflix. There's not just no
Nice to see him get
reward,
another shot.
there's no punishment,
No punishment.
there's no lasting consequences.
Yeah.
Like, he's back,
Yeah.
Louis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and it the I'm kind of dismayed by the language of lots of friends as well. Everything from the last time Louis C.K. Came here, I probably, in all honesty, had 10 to 12 comedians whisper to me that they were going.
Mate, I spoke to somebody who I won't because of the topic that we are talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but I did ask them in a work situation the other day. I was like, "Have you watched the special?" Because I won't watch it, but I suspected that they might have watched the special because I think I I had known that they had been one of the comedians who had gone to see him
Yeah.
last time he was here. So I was like, you know, so they probably watched the special and they can tell me about it. But what they told me in telling me that was very funny, which was um, that they hadn't told any other comedians that they were going to see Louis. And then they got there, and there was heaps of other comedians there
Yeah,
who'd also not told any other comedians that they were
yeah.
going to see Louis.
That's
And so there
funny.
was just like 8 or 10 of them, like, that's Spider-Man meme. Ah.
that we that have I ever told you? Sorry, this will sound. You've just reminded me of something. When I was young, and the Mormons used to come and knock on the door on a
Ah.
Sunday. When it was there was a particularly hot summer, and these Mormons came over and they knocked on the door. My grandfather was there, and he said, "I have no interest in talking to you about God, but would you like to come in and have a glass of water and just get out of the heat?" And these Mormons came in, and it turned out they were two of the funniest people I've ever met, and and so they just kept coming over because they liked my grandfather and they liked my mum, and anytime they mentioned God, they got told to stop talking, and then they found out the movie Flying High was coming, and they really wanted to go and see it, so they came over with a change of clothes and got changed so they wouldn't get caught, and they went to see Flying High, and when they sat down in the cinema, they turned around, there were two Mormons dressed in their casual clothes as well. So these four Mormons just sat there, watched Flying High, and then they came back to our place and reenacted their favorite scenes.
I mean, I think there is. I heard that one of the Zuckers is a bit Trumpy
Oh,
now, which I hope that's not true. But
right.
that made me sad when somebody was like, one of them was like mad about the new Naked Gun remake, I think, and one's a
Yeah,
bit
that
like,
hadn't been like brought in or just asked
yeah,
about it.
yeah, which probably maybe is okay. Maybe that's an okay thing to be mad about. I don't know, but
Yeah, if it's your thing, you'd probably like to, you know, be a part of it in some way.
yeah. But also, I do wonder sometimes where you're like, maybe there's a world in which it's, you know, there you can also go with my blessing. Good luck to you. You
Yes,
know, it might be time to just go, I did my thing. This might mean that a whole bunch of people go back and watch the
original.
original things that I did, which I think is what happened, by the
Mm,
way.
yeah,
And just take that.
yeah, yeah. Take that, take that as a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing that does bother me specifically with Dave is, you know, uh, I, some of his language I think has been quite dangerous, and I've noticed amongst friends there's been some mildly racist things kind of mentioned about, you know, got to make sure that you are very careful about the types of people that you let into the country and all that kind of stuff. And that rhetoric
Yeah. Well, I
is
mean, Ronnie
becoming,
Chang came here, like,
yeah, it's,
used this all up, all our
yeah,
international student funds to get over to the Daily Show.
yeah. And what does he do? He shits on the ABC. Come on, Ronnie. Come on. He's furious. Let it go, mate. You made it.
It is still one of my favorite running bits. It's
Yeah.
like,
I find it incredibly entertaining.
I enjoy it too because I'm like, he remembers us. That's nice.
Hey, it's you know, it's on brand as well. That's what Ronnie does.
Yeah, it was so funny. I'm sure that he shared with you this same bit of personal news a few weeks ago, months, and maybe even ago now. But he'd had some personal news in his life, which is not, mine to share with the podcast audience. But I got a, message out of the blue just to get this bit of personal news shared, and I was like, it's nice that I'm still on the personal news
Yeah.
text, like when a life event happens in Ronnie's life, he thought that I would like to know about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I
I
did want to
did.
know about that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Jenny Tian was at an event in New York and with Ronnie and that. And uh, she, whoever the group was that they were talking to, she brought up that I was directing her. And she said, "Oh, Ronnie said lots of nice things about you." And I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's very nice to hear." Because, you know, Ronnie's not going to say nice things if he doesn't think it.
No, that is, yeah, it's an actual compliment when Ronnie
Yeah, it's
says
like a,
nice things
oh,
about you.
okay, that's good.
I will. Have you seen The Devil Wears Prada too?
As well. No, I haven't. Not yet. No.
Okay, so I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Actually a really good sequel in that there's in the about the first 10 minutes, there's a little bit of that you want to find out how Han Solo got his name sort of vibe where you're like, oh,
Uh,
I don't want to
yeah.
retread of the first movie. I want a whole new movie.
Yeah.
And then they really get in the swing of it. I thought they did a really good job with it. But there is one scene where they are at a glamorous party. And that's like the whole vibe is look at all these celebrities that are at this glamorous party. So they're going around the party and being introduced to person after person after person. And then they're just like, and this is Ronnie Chang.
Oh.
Not Ronnie Chang as like a character in the movie. No. Which would have been enough, to be honest. I still would have been like, look at Ronnie in Devil Wears Prada too. But no, Ronnie Chang as himself.
Wow.
He is a big enough celebrity to
Wow.
be a celebrity cameo in The Devil Wears Prada too.
Wow. That is
In a movie
phenomenal.
with Meryl Streep.
Streep. Wow. That is something else.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It was you should have seen my reaction in the
Yeah.
cinema. Like, because I didn't know either.
Yeah.
Like, so, because we went like first day or second day, because we were going to talk about it on Gruen. We didn't end up in the end, but like I saw it like first day or second day.
Right.
And so I didn't even know that he was in it. And the reaction, like, I was like a screaming teenager if a member of BTS had made a cameo. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It is exciting when he pops up.
Oh,
I felt that way when he popped up in Shang-Chi
yes.
in the Marvel film. I was like, oh, you get that little thrill.
But it was just, I mean, and yes, I absolutely do that as well. But I know he's an actor.
Mm.
So seeing him acting in things and the fact that, Aaron Chen's about to be in a whole bunch of things, like it's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting to see, like these are just these guys that we saw as kids come through. Well, Aaron
Well,
in particular, like as a
oh,
child come through
yeah.
the scene.
Yeah. Ronnie interviewed Aaron on The Daily Show just the other day.
I mean, that's incredible in itself. But acting,
Yeah.
you can kind of understand.
Mm.
Stand up, you can understand.
Mm.
Ronnie Chang as Ronnie Chang in The Devil Wears Prada 2 might have broken my brain.
Yeah. There you go. A bit of positivity in the world.
I was like, yeah, amazing. But yeah,
I
you're right. I think that the language, so I haven't watched, um, this is one of the things about being off socials, is that I see so much of the Husey content I get is on like news.com.au or has been forwarded to me by somebody. But what I don't get is that I'm not kind of sitting there seeing all the videos, seeing all the things. And I do hear that tonally, like maybe what I'm imagining they are in my sort of, it's just Husey spouting off about things in the way that Husey's always spouted off about things. That's kind of what I imagine them to be. But when they're reported to me, or sometimes when you click on a news.com.au, you do think, yeah, the tone of this is like, I just always, and look, I've spoken about all sorts of things over the years. So, first to put my hand up and say, that I can be a hypocrite in this regard. But I do think if I just would love to see some more comedy in
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I would like. I would just love to, I would love to see these ideas, this worldview. I mean, you know this. For years, I've spoken to you in private about how I would actually love to know more of Husey's worldview. And I'd love to see more because the sort of comedy that I love, Claire Hooper's show was about how Claire Hooper it isn't fun and doesn't consider herself to be a fun person. And like, it's actually like such a great concept and you learn so much about her through that and you also learn that she's also fun in absolutely
Mm.
her own way
Yeah.
but it's such a great show about her and it's made so much richer by you learning something about her, not just the stories but a genuine insight into how she interacts with the world. And I've always wanted more of that in Hughes's work. And even if it's stuff that I don't agree with, like, talk to me about what it's like to be like, genuinely make jokes about what it's like to own a block of flats.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
actually do a routine where you say, no, this is why I'm angry about this, or well, this is why I've been engaged about this. Don't just, it sounds like you said that some of the language becomes, I don't even know like how to describe it. Like, just becomes, I haven't
Well,
seen enough of it to know. Is my honest answer. But
yeah.
I understand when you say the language,
Yeah.
I had a sense of what you meant by that.
Yeah, it's because he does believe he is standing up for regular Australians, and
Yeah.
that in his worldview, the government has lied, and he feels betrayed by
Yeah.
that.
Well, the
But
government did lie. I mean, I actually think
yeah,
everyone can, I don't think he's wrong about that.
no,
Like, the government went to the election saying they weren't going to do a thing, and then they have, um, you know, d- done that thing. So
yeah,
you can then decide whether you think that is a justifiable action or not. But I think we can all agree that I don't think that's even in debate.
hmm.
It's just his reaction to that, which is the next bit.
Well, it's also the government's lied about heaps of things, and every
Yeah.
government's lied about heaps of things,
Yeah.
and
Why this
when
one? Why is it this one that you're so angry about,
it's because he
as
owns heaps
opposed
of
to all the
places.
other things
Yeah,
that they? Well, it certainly reads that way, doesn't it?
yeah,
That's the perception, regardless of the intention.
yeah,
That's the perception. If you are a person who has a lot of houses, despite the fact that he said in a whole bunch of these things, mine, I don't have any debt, I didn't use like blah, 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 whatever, these things. If you are a person who has a lot of houses and a thing comes in that might affect that, and then you are suddenly like, agitated into being vocal around politics in a way that you haven't been previously, there's enough ingredients there for people to draw like negative, like we've implied or thought negative things about people based on a lot less evidence, I guess.
yes, yeah, yeah, and infusing it with stuff about people from overseas, etc. It's like you're putting you're putting some bad medicine in the jam, so you're referring to something that everyone, yes, the government lied, this is having a roll-on effect, and then you throw in something like that, which also builds towards this kind of right wing movement that we seem to be, Australia's always a few years behind America. So we're finally kind of catching up to that politically. And then the knock on effect of that is if those people get into positions of power, we are in a lot of trouble, like in a broad amount of ways, not just this one thing that he's getting upset about.
Yeah, and the problem is that it
And,
gets
and they're
tacked onto
liars.
that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the problem.
yeah.
You give agency for a whole bunch of people who don't have good intentions,
They do not have good
regardless of what
intentions.
your intentions are. Like, it's that classic Simpsons joke, right? Like, I'm not saying this is exactly the same here, but the Fox News banner, not racist, but number one with racists. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to be a bit careful that if One Nation are putting you in their cartoons in a positive way, if Sky News are saying, "Oh, finally, you've woken up and this is the guy," those things to me would be worries that maybe if my intentions are really good, that they are being misinterpreted or used in nefarious ways by people whose intentions aren't good.
Yeah. If you suddenly see your face sandwiched between Stefanovic and Kyle,
Yeah.
I'd I'd start thinking about what I was saying.
If I was standing in between Kyle and Carl, it'd be a good way to do a double stabbing.
That'd be amazing.
You know what I mean? Just a little stabby
Ding ding.
stabby. Ding
Keep
ding.
moving. Just
Done.
watch them go down. That'll be
Done,
great.
guys. Inside job. I mean, that would be great if we worked, if he's just doing an inside job. If he's
Right.
just going deep undercover and he's going to bring the whole thing down from inside.
Well, then the cold sore really is a cover.
I mean, this is the thing too. Like, I get cold sores,
Yeah, so
and
do I.
it's like it's awful, and I don't judge anyone for having a cold sore. Like,
No.
and but the thing that I will tell you is that when I have one, like I hate it. Like
Mm.
I don't want to leave the house. I think everyone can see it. And people will say to you, they'll be like, "I know no one can notice." This has not helped me with that.
No. Yeah.
Like this has really reinforced that phobia in me because that's what I think it looks like every time I have a cold sore, even though it
Oh,
isn't.
and
But
it's
that's
not.
that's
No.
what it feels like, and that's what I think it looks like.
There's
And
there's astronauts looking down at Hughesy's lip going, mate, stop making videos.
well, just until it's like it just feels like just get that fixed up, mate.
Just get that
Just
fixed up. Get some
for your own
lipstick.
health. Yeah.
Just
I'm
he's not against wearing makeup. We've seen him do things at first thing in the morning, and then later that night he's still wearing the makeup because he thinks he looks good.
Mate, after the Glass House recordings, he would wear it home on the plane. He
Yeah.
said he used to get heaps of compliments.
Oh man, that is so funny. Hey, I should let you go, but just before we go, two things. One is I saw The Princess Bride last
Oh
night
yeah.
with
Okay. Oh
Gatesy,
yes. Yeah,
and
now, I saw it in Melbourne the other week, and you saw it
in
yesterday.
Sydney.
This is the Princess Bride with they take out the score of the movie, and then the live orchestra plays the score.
Yeah,
But our friend Stephen Gatesy,
yeah,
people would know famously from Tripod, but from all sorts of other things as well. Grammy Award nominated artist Stephen Gates
yes, yes,
is the host. Well, hosted these events as well, and sang a song. Did he
which was
sing?
great.
Yeah, unreal that song. How good was it?
So good. Yeah,
And did the
and
audience love it? Like,
they
because
loved it.
at my gig, like honestly, in Melbourne, like they responded to it so well.
Yeah, yeah, it got a big
Yeah,
response,
good.
uh, and also a perfect Gatesy song.
Yes.
Like it's so funny, has little twists and turns. He sings, you know, he's always had a beautiful voice, and but he then interviewed Kerry Elways,
Yeah.
who all the way through the interview kept calling him Steve, and it was like it was nice. He was being
Yeah.
professional, and hey, Steve,
But
yeah, well, Steve gets it. And, oh, big round for Steve, and I'm sitting there going, "Who's Steve?
mm,
Skatesy."
we've never called him Steve.
No.
Like I call him Steven sometimes,
So
but
you know how I am with full
yeah.
names, so I love it. But it's you know, but and that was great. And then it was so nice to sit in a at the TikTok Entertainment Center or Arena or whatever it's fucking called. And just everyone really into it, and it was nice to be in a communal setting where people were, you know, cheering and clapping, and yeah, it was such a really nice and fun experience.
What a great movie that is, and you get to see how incredible the writing is, like William Goldman. Like the whole, if people don't know I encourage you to explore the Princess Bride book and the
Mm,
backstory. Like it's actually so like beautifully complicated in a lovely way. There's all these, it's all based on a myth of this idea of a discovery of this story and then it being put together and etc. But that's all a conceit, of course. But it's all this glorious conceit, and then he managed to turn it into this perfect screenplay that when you see it projected onto the big screen with the subtitles, you
yeah,
get to just see how concise and beautiful the writing is, even though you know it, even though you know all the catchphrases and the way that movie is put together. When you actually see the writing on the screen, the amount of times that a whole scene was basically done in a 3 or 4 word sentence,
yeah.
the use of language is just incredible. And also, just being able to see, because one of the things that I was thinking about afterwards was like when we talk about AI and what AI can and can't do, a movie like that would only be made worse by AI.
Mm,
You know, with AI, they would have wanted the sets to all look a little bit less wonky, and they would have
yeah.
wanted all the accents to match a little bit more, and they would have wanted you to be able to understand Andre the Giant a little bit. They wouldn't have understood why some people are just doing their regular accents, and then some people are taking wild swings at like, what's Mandy Patinkin doing? Like,
Yeah.
Like, everyone's doing a different thing. Like, the first 8 times you watch the movie, like 3 out of 4 like lines of Andre the Giant's are almost indecipherable, like in
Yeah.
that film. Like, and yet it all just comes together so beautifully. Like even the Carol Kane, Billy Crystal, Miracle Max, like
Yeah.
scene is so close to just being a Saturday Night Live sketch,
Yeah.
Like it's particularly that final line, which is like, "Do you think it'll work? It'll be a miracle. Like it'll take a miracle." It is like it's almost too sketchy, and yet the movie understands itself so much that it understands it can be a set piece. Because I think one of the things that um, is that because the conceit is that you have the grandfather Peter Falk telling the story to
Fred
um,
Savage.
Fred Savage, right? As a child, and Fred Savage is imagining this storybook that he is being told. So every time you're seeing these things, like it gives it permission to just be that slightly cartoonish
Mm.
version of it's because it's this child's imagining of like what a princess looks like, or what a sword fighter looks like, or what a giant might be, or like all these things. And it all just works. It's such a beautifully conceived film. But I didn't really understand how incredible the soundtrack was until seeing it like that.
Yeah.
Just to be able to see the orchestra play. I mean, it felt so old school when you're watching them sword fight on the mountain and you see all the violins and strings in the orchestra just doing the sounds of all the. It was what a magnificent experience. I loved it so much. I couldn't have
Yeah.
loved it more.
Yeah, and a good way to re-engage with it. I hadn't watched it in quite a while actually, and what a great way to re-engage with it. And also, it speaks to that time of when a film like that, or Labyrinth, those films that kind of came and didn't
Mhm.
hit at the box office for whatever reason. Like The Princess Bride came out when Three Men and a Baby and Fatal Attraction hit, so that took up all the oxygen. But then they found their audience in a new life at the video store, and that's when the movie became a hit.
Well, I remember seeing when I saw The Princess Bride, I saw it at the South Cinema. I was one of the few people who might have seen it at the cinema. And it was an afternoon. And my friend Sarah Bailey and we were both, I reckon, 14 or 15, whatever age we would have been when it came out. I don't know what year did it come out? That'll
Uh,
be able to give me a
87, 86,
87.
87,
Okay. All right. So yeah,
maybe.
13 or 14 then maybe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So, um, and we had to take our sisters. So my sister Sue's and Sarah's sister were both the same age, and so we were told by our parents that we could go to the movies, but we had to go to a movie that
They could go to.
the girls could go to as well. And so
Yeah.
we ended up at a movie that we both thought that we were going to. I mean, this is why I think just from the start I love this movie so much, is because I also went into it thinking this is gonna suck. Like, well, not suck, but thinking like it was going to be the Princess Diaries. You know what I mean? Like a
Yes.
thing that is watchable enough and fine, and but just not built for me. And yet instead it was like full of all these incredible comedians and comedic actors and
Yeah.
performances, and I just was from the minute I saw it. But yes, you're right. It found its audience on videotape and video stores.
Yeah. And then to see such a broad range of people, older, younger,
Yeah.
all sitting there. The two girls I was sitting next to on my right were, I said to them afterwards, I really enjoyed sitting next to the two of you because halfway through the film, I clocked that we were laughing hard at the same thing every
Yeah.
time. And it was a nice feeling to, enjoy the film in that way.
Yeah. I mean, it was so fun to be in a room where when spoilers for the Princess Bride if you've never seen it, but when Inigo finally kills Rugen, like in that final and the audience just erupted
Yeah.
as if we were watching that fight live,
Yeah. 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 The same thing happened last night.
Yeah.
Everyone just cheered. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I should let you go. So
Yeah.
you have shows coming up in Brisbane and Canberra, is that right?
Yeah, so earlier in the year I had to postpone some shows, unfortunately, due to some personal circumstances. And these are the shows that I postponed. So basically, It's been a tough year, as you know, and
Mm.
uh, so I had some real tough stuff happen, and then I immediately a week later had to do Melbourne Comedy Festival. Well, had decided to, like I'd cancelled the other things, I decided to do that, and then a week after that, I started Gruen. So on Tuesday we record episode 12 of this season of Gruen, which means that like that is now done. So my Melbourne is done, and that is done, and then I have 2 weeks in Brisbane, and then 1 week in Canberra, and then I am done, which means that I am going to take my first I've been on the road basically since the pandemic,
Mm.
like, you know, and I had extra things, Adam and Will tour, Dollops, all sorts of,
Mm.
podcast tours. I've just feel like I've done nothing but be on the road and be away. And my body is broken. Like my hips are both, I mean, I'm just in constant, so much pain. But more than that, I borrowed a little mental capacity from, uh, you know, time that I should be processing that and grieving and etc. I've borrowed that to get through these commitments that I couldn't put to the side. Like Charlie's been amazing on the podcast, and you, like we'd started, doing this regularly, and you were like everyone's been really amazing in, providing me the space that I've needed. But I definitely will need more space, and particularly as a stand up, we did a gig in Orange for Tom Gleason's brother Nick, who's like an
Mm.
absolute legend. People might know Nick if you watch Taskmaster this season.
Oh,
He made
yeah.
a cameo appearance, which was
Yeah.
pretty great.
Yeah.
And he's like one of just the all-time great blokes. And we did some gigs. We had Rove, who, by the way, Rove was on Philosophy. If people haven't checked that out, please go to Everyone Relax and check out the Rove Philosophy. He is in, I reckon, the best form of his life, Rove, as a
I
comedian, as a
totally
person,
agree.
like
Yes.
just really in a good place. And that chat was like, I loved it. I do recommend that. But we were doing stand up there, Nate Valvo and Mel
M-
Buttle. Great. I mean, he's running great gigs. If you're in that part of the world, like Nick is bringing so many good people to that part of the world.
Central West Comedy is
Yeah.
his brand, and he's cultivated an audience over the last 7, 8, 9 years who recognize him and what he brings, and so he can bring big names, and he can also bring people that he likes, and
Yeah.
the audience is like, well, if you like them, then I'll give it
Well,
a go.
because also he's only bringing good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so big shout out. But so there was three things that I hadn't cancelled. One was a gig I have in Newcastle this week for the Newcastle Comedy Festival. They were all spots. One was a charity gig for Dan Connell, and one was the gig for Nick. They were the three things that I didn't cancel out of my schedule because I was like, oh, they're 15-minute spots. I can do that. But I've found them really hard because going back to my old material that was written in a world before all the stuff that has happened recently happened, I feel like a very different person, and it feels like a very different world to me. And it's very hard for
Mm.
me to go back and connect to that old material. And,
It
you know,
feels dry in the mouth,
yeah,
doesn't it? It's
yeah,
just doesn't resonate anymore.
no.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to talk about anything that's happened or what's next yet. I don't, I need to take some time. I found my improv shows really great fun because you can be in the moment. You're just talking to the audience, you're using the ingredients there. So you don't need to be either in the past or in the future yet. You can just be in the moment. So I'm going to do these 3 more weeks, but after these 3 more weeks, I am going to stop touring for, an indefinite period. So at the very least, I'm not going to tour for the rest of this year and all of next year. Um, and then we'll see. But for me, for a really indefinite, so if you want to come out and see shows, Brisbane and Canberra are the last places to come and see. I know it's a tough time at the moment, but if you are listening to this podcast or if you listen to my podcast, there's always like a good. In fact, I'm happy to do it for this episode if we want. Like, we'll put
Mm.
a link. But basically, there'll be like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows. If you use the code RELAX, RELAX, you get like $25 tickets, I think, which is half or nearly half price. So
Yeah. Great.
it's a really good. So if the reason you're not coming, or if you want to come a second time because it's the improv show, but you just can't afford to buy 2 tickets, I feel like that's a good offer to give to people to come out and see that because I prefer the rooms to be full. And but I'll give you a link as well that'll take people directly there. But if you go and you just put like anything that has a code, if the allocation hasn't been exhausted, if you use the code RELAX, that'll get you the bonus in the Brisbane ones.
What are the dates for Brisbane and
Brisbane
Canberra?
starts on, so Brisbane starts next not Tuesday week, so whatever that is.
Oh
So
yeah,
when is
on
this?
the
When are you putting this out? On
this
Monday?
this comes out on Tuesday morning on the
Oh,
14th,
Tuesday.
so it'll
Yeah,
be 21st.
the 21st. So yeah, so 1 week from today, Brisbane starts. It's for 2 weeks, and then Canberra's the week after that. Canberra is pretty much sold out, but there's still some tickets left. So if you want to come in Canberra, please do come along.
Yeah, and they're fun shows, and
Yeah.
you never
Oh
know.
yeah, I want to go. I mean, and they're always fun shows. I love doing them, but I've also had a break for 4 months, so I'll be really ready to go. And I also know that I'm not doing shows for ages afterwards, so I think they'll actually be. I'm really looking forward to them. I want them just that's kind of basically why I just want them all to be, completely full and having a great time and just yeah, let's go out in style.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right,
Yeah.
thanks for today. Well, I'll see
This was
you.
good. Yeah.
We'll be having breakfast Tuesday morning while this
Yeah.
goes up.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Will for joining me on this podcast. Make sure that if you are in Brisbane and you'd like to check out those shows, use the relax password and it will get a lot of money off, actually. So if you want to take advantage of that, please do so. And they're great shows as well. And if this is kind of like the last opportunity to see Will perform for a while, you should absolutely take it. And yeah, they're really fun shows. Never the same either. So that's always exciting to see someone who's actually good at crowd work do crowd work. um, Yes, as I said at the start of the podcast, if you would like to sign up to my Substack and read my memoir, One Foot in the Spotlight, and be able to gain access to my ongoing blog, Beautiful Tales for the Disenchanted and short stories, Dispatches from the Fury Road, all of them, head over to Substack and look up Justin Hamilton Comedian. You can find all the links at my website, actually, justinhamilton.com.au. You can find links for that. You can find links for Patreon, which get you ad-free versions of this podcast for as little as $5 a month, and access to bonus podcasts and live shows that I filmed, one-offs that only exist there. And of course, you can find the link to YouTube as well. I'm all over the place. I'm a machine with the amount of stuff I'm generating. Someone give me two thumbs up. Anyway, Thursday, yes. By the time you are listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, I will have seen the Odyssey. I'm recording it. I'm recording this part just before I go. So we'll have some thoughts on Thursday. There's an embargo, so I can't say anything beforehand. My newsletter drops at 10 o'clock every second Tuesday. So there's one dropping today. And if you, I'll write something tricky which gets around the embargo there. But otherwise, you can wait until Thursday and then you can have a listen, or you can, put it to one side so you can listen to it after you've seen the movie. I'm pretty fired up. These are events, and you know, there's so many things I'm looking forward to with this. I can't wait to see Robert Pattinson play a bad guy. I can't wait to see how Matt Damon stretches himself. I can't wait to see all the different actresses and the different roles that they're playing. Tom Holland, I think, is a great actor, and I can't wait to see him with something meaty to sink his teeth into. John Bernthal, I can't wait to see John Bernthal. I love John Bernthal, and I can't wait to hear the music and the fact that they built a 40-foot tall Cyclops, mate. Inject it into my eyes and let's have a good time. So that'll be on Thursday. All right. This was quite a long podcast, so thank you for sticking around. And yeah, I'll let you go so you can get on with your day, whatever you're getting up to. I hope you're well. Thanks for being a part of this community, and until then.